Away for another Vaughan boundary.
Well, he's a great fieldsman, Phil Tufnell. He often falls over and he's brought it into his batting as well.
Hello and welcome to the Vaughany and Tuffers Cricket Club, a new podcast brought to you by the Daily Telegraph. My name is Ben Wright and I'm joined again, not in the studio today, but remotely by Ashes winning captain Michael Vaughan and entertainment all-rounder Phil Tufnell. We're back, week 2. And week 1 was a big one. We managed to go top of the charts, top of the Apple podcast charts for the sports category in our first week. And I think number 2 overall, which is not bad, is it, gents?
We were number 1.
We're number 1 in the sports category, yeah.
Hold on a minute while I blow my own trumpet.
Yeah.
I have to say, I never thought I'd be top of the pops.
Oh, by the way, I've got online. I've managed to use the technology. I see, Phil, you've got your own producer in your kitchen with you.
Yes, I have tech support with me, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm left to work off my wife's computer because it doesn't work on the iPad that I have next to me. So thanks for that. Anyway, good to be on.
Yeah, so the cameras have been rolling for a while, so we've got quite a lot of material for our bloopers reel.
Yeah.
From Mike going, "You're on mute, Mike. You're on mute."
My volume wasn't even working.
Hello? Hello?
I have to say, it was a little bit like Zoom calling my granny during the pandemic.
It's just, you pick on the Northerners, don't you? Right, let's do it.
You've both headed home after 3.5, actually more like 3.25 days, toiling over the microphone at Lord's.
Ben, can I just put something straight now?
Yes.
Can I was it you I saw on television?
Yes.
With your MCC tie on the other day?
Yeah.
Busted. Busted.
It was me. I was there on Sunday. I was in the stands. I was there with a couple of mates. It was actually the first airing of my MCC tie.
You were having a lager, weren't you, when I saw you? Was that right?
No. Lager, sparkling white wine, English sparkling white wine. I was
good.
It was patriotic
Jubilee.
boozing I was doing.
Well, good. But I tell you what I have to say, that was one of the most enjoyable Test matches I've covered.
Oh,
don't know what you think,
bonkers.
Phil, but it just from that start with obviously all the kind of changes. The new captain, the new coach, everything's going to be positive. They got off to such a flying start. Having New Zealand, was it 39 for 6 at lunchtime on day 1? And then at the end of the day, about 4:30, it was all positive. England were great. The reset is working. And then about an hour later, it was, oh no, here we go. Same old England. Can't bat. Playing poor shots. And throughout the whole game, it just seemed to be that every session, it just kind of ebbed and flowed. And then eventually, we saw a very special innings from a very special player.
It was great, but Phil, what do you reckon? Do you think there was enough there to suggest a new dawn has broken for the England team, or was it actually a bit more of the same?
Well, but baby steps. There's going to be ups and downs. It's the first game. Let's not get carried away. But it's great to get off with a victory, and it was just a bonkers test. And if anything, I was on the edge of my seat every minute and every ball bowled, apart from what I thought was going to be the most nerve-wracking bit was England getting over the line, and then Joe Root just came out and knocked it off like he was having a cup of tea. It was a sublime knock. So, if anything, the last morning session was a bit of an anticlimax because Joe Root played so beautifully.
I actually think, Ben, what did we learn from the Test team? Let's be brutally honest, not a lot. Because when the ball's moving around, Broad and Anderson are up there with the best combinations we've seen. With the bat in hand, England rely on Joe Root. So we actually haven't learned a great deal in terms of the team. But I'm not too sure that same set of players are not bagging the old leadership. But I'm not sure they would have won this week with it almost was meant to be. The little bit of fortune, Ben Stokes being bowled off the no ball. Joe Root never scored a fourth in his century. 10,000 tests. The first game back as the non-captain playing for the present captain, the new captain that did so much for him. It's ironic that we're kind of looking at all this and thinking, oh yeah, it's changed and there's a real positivity. not a lot's changed, but I just think that little bit of luck, and it was meant to be for Joe to be there at the end, for Joe to get 100, for Joe to get 10,000, for the whole of Lords to be on their feet, clapping not only his century, but I think the applause he got was for his work as captain as well, because he had tough times as a captain, particularly the last 2 years. And I felt it was all meant to be. And I do think, I'm not too sure whether they would have won this week with the old management. I just think that was such a difficult time for the old management, that fresh start, fresh kind of minds, and there was a lot of positivity, and it almost kind of just dragged England along to the victory.
Yeah, do the cricketing gods at Lords look after Stokesy a little bit? Do you think? That's a couple of times he's had a bit of luck there, isn't it?
Well, he's got that Test century against New Zealand many years ago, the World Cup final. The first time I'm asking as an England captain, lost quite a good toss in the end. It was quite a good toss to have lost. His best player steps up to the plate at the first time of asking. He's a special player. I've not seen, and I think Graham Gooch potentially, if T20 cricket had been around in his era, he could have been a similar style of all format player, brilliant. Maybe David Gower the same. We've got him on later, David. But I do think Joe Root is the kind of player that he just makes it look so easy. And everything about his batting is pure. It's technically pure, mentally fantastic, and it looks like he's having a bit of fun out in the middle.
Yeah, and the other thing, Mike, as well, he read that innings so well. His tempo was so good, wasn't it? He came out there, he knocked it around, he sort of gave it over to Stokesy to give it a bit of a whack and hit those sixes, and sort of went back into his shell. And then, when they came out in the morning, and a big,
he's a magician.
He just played.
Have you seen that clip on social, Phil? Have you seen him at the non-striker zone?
Yes, the bat.
With his bat. He's Harry Potter.
He's Harry Potter.
Balancing the bat. But Phil was right. He got 40 off the first 100 balls, and then when Stokesy was out, he got 37 off the next 41. So he was able to just increase his tempo. And I was looking at a sort of compilation of all his scoring shots, and that ability just to anything on the stumps, he turns around to on, picks up one or two, and then if it's outside off, he plays it late and he'll sort of guide it through gully and he'll pick up runs there. It's sort of very hard to bowl to.
Absolutely. The New Zealanders couldn't stop him, just rotating strike, ticking off those runs. And it's very frustrating when you can't then apply pressure as a bowling side and get maidens in and create that sort of doubt in the batsman's mind. If you're just ticking it over at twos and threes and over, it happens. And it was a wonderful night. And a great reception he got walking in as well, didn't he, into the long room? Did you see that? It was lovely. Everyone standing and clapping, and everyone came down and gave him a hug. I had a tear in my eye.
Did you, Phil? Did you? Got a bit emotional?
And what did we make of Stokes' captaincy? Obviously still only one match, early days, but was there enough there to see what kind of captain he's going to be?
Yeah, I saw it straight away. I could see within the first half an hour when he had 6 slips, I just went, he's going to be a captain that wherever he feels the ball, he's going to go in the air, he's going to have a fielder. And I think he set the stall out straight away, and he said it straight away afterwards. My job as a captain is to try and create wicket-taking opportunities. And that's maybe alluded to the past where they maybe went for a bit of protection. Broad and Anderson, they have been known in the past to set fields that are more restrictive for the runs rather than just go for it with the kind of field setting in terms of aggressive sense. I think we're in for a good ride with Ben. I think we'll have some fun with this Test match. I don't think they're going to win every week. I don't think they're good enough to, but I think we're in for a good ride with this combination. That they're obviously going to be very aggressive in terms of their field setting, and with the bat in hand, they're going to go for it. And the one thing I'll say about the batting, which when you're a young player and you're setting out, you're always trying to work out methods and you're trying to become consistent. And I think I see too, I don't know what you think, Phil, in terms of the younger players, I see them try too much. Alex Lee's batting a yard outside off some, I don't know why. Players batting a yard outside the crease, I don't know why. Batting outside off stump as a right hand, I don't know why. What you're worried about? You're worried about missing the ball. Don't think about missing the ball, think about hitting the ball. Alex Lee's in the second innings, what did he do? He went back to more neutral on middle, it opens up both sides of the ground. And all I'll say to him is just look at the great players of this era. Virat Kohli, Kane Williamson. I wouldn't look at Steve Smith because he's a freak. He plays in a fashion that I just don't think you can copy. But Joe Root is the kind of player that I hope all our coaches in the UK are looking at and going, that's the way you bat. You bat on middle stump, you stay nice and upright, your eyes are level, you have a nice simple bat lift, it opens up the offside, the onside, you get forward to full length and you pick up length and you go back when it's slightly shorter.
He looked fantastic, and obviously we got some of the pyrotechnics from Ben Stokes as well. But just a couple of the other batters to mention. Zach Crawley, he got 43 in the first innings. He looked quite good until I saw one writer say sort of lived by the cover drive and then died by the cover drive. And then Folkes in the second innings, I thought that was a proper innings. He got 37. No, what did he get? He got 32 off 92 balls, and obviously helped get Root over the line there.
Yeah, no, very assured. That could set up Ben Folkes' summer. You know, he just looked very assured. And I think, well, Mike, you'll be able to say a little bit more about Crawley, but he needs to sort out that cover drive because his foot's in the right. He's not going towards the ball. The hands are too low and it's coming from sort of like a third or second slip. So it is a strength of his, but I mean, it will do for him more than it not.
Well, I think he's got two schools of thought now. He either really irons out that technique because the ball before he got out, he got his left foot towards the line of the ball and he just timed it down the outfield for four. The ball that he gets out to, you look at his left foot, it doesn't move a great deal. It doesn't go towards the line of the ball, and then he's playing away from his body. He either really irons that out mentally and technically, or he goes the other way and goes really aggressive. He can't get caught in between. If he gets caught in between, he's going to continuously play one or two nice shots, and then he'll play an iffy drive once again. So he's either got to be ultra aggressive and go really hard, which I reckon Brendan McCullum will be telling him to do so. I don't think Brendan will be working too much technically on him and saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. I think Brendan will probably sit with him going, look, the top of the order, we want to score runs. We want to kind of get off to a start. We want to try and force this positivity on the game. Your job at the top is to go out and have a dash. I think that may be the way that he'd like to play. It might be the way that look, it's risky and it might be very inconsistent. And if it fails, he may be out the side in 2 or 3 games' time. But he looks to me a better player when he's looking to score. So I'd rather him go for the attacking option rather than to try and play in a way that's not necessarily natural to him.
And we talked a lot about England. A quick word on New Zealand. They obviously hadn't had a lot of cricket going into this match. They're going to be better at Trent Bridge, aren't they?
They will be. They looked a bit rusty, didn't they? Haven't played a lot of test match cricket. They're the kind of side that will always come back. You know, they'll come back. They'll look at the positives, look at the negatives, work on them, get themselves right in the head and be back. And with that bowling unit, you've got to be careful. It's a very, very good, experienced bowling attack. So, yeah, they'll be back stronger. But, I mean, just a great start for England to get off and running with a win.
Phil, can I ask you a question? Do you reckon Colin's day on Sunday, was it Sunday, Saturday?
It's like one of mine, that. It was like...
We are going to talk about viral sensations across the kind of league sector, but Cole's up there, isn't he? I reckon he's. Yeah. I'm going to say it now.
Colin de Grandhomme.
So we're going to have an honours board for necessarily not great things on this podcast. I'm putting Colin de Grandhomme's third day.
He's up there
as possibly the worst day I've seen in Test cricket. And because of that, I want Colin to be an honorary life member of our honours board. We need to get a picture with him, Phil, because I think Colin needs to be at the top of that list. He's going to be the president of the honours board.
Maybe we name it after him, the de Grandhomme Honours Board.
That it doesn't get any better than that. Run out first ball, Dozer bowling the England skipper off, and when he was on one, and the game would have been won. And then, unfortunately, gets an injury about a couple of minutes later. So yeah, it's up there with the worst days I've seen, but he's our president of the honour board.
But enough of what you two thought of the match. What we really want to know is what our young listener Megan thought of it. Mike, have you heard from her?
Yes, I have. Forget what me and Phil think. It's irrelevant. It's all about Megan. She's 8.
Hi Vaughany, hi Tuffers. Didn't play much cricket this week as I was in Peter Pan, which was very, very fun. I watched the test match. It was amazing. Maybe I was wrong about just loving the 100. I love Ben Stokes and Joe Root.
Well, she sounds absolutely buzzing, like we all were at Lord's, Mike. Great advert for the game, edgy of seat stuff. No wonder she was excited.
And bearing in mind, Meg, she's already stated she doesn't like all this kind of fancy stuff. She doesn't like the ties. She's very much a new school cricket lover, the 100, white balls, colour. She's now into Test cricket. First time I'm asking, and she loves Ben and Joe. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
So, probably time to move on to this week's guest, and it's another cracker. I mean, we had Rob Key last week. This week, we got an English cricket legend and one of the most elegant left-handed batters to play the game, David Gower.
Oh, my hero.
We caught up with him after play on Friday at Lord's. I was in charge of the recording equipment, which was a little bit dicey, but seemed to go all right. I was playing with it and trying to get it set up, and it was at our feet. And as I was fiddling with it, David spotted that we were split between those of us who were wearing socks and those fashionistas who had gone bare-ankled.
Nice, colourful socks. Ben,
I'm
pair
wearing,
of brown and orange socks, and Phil has got a beautiful pair. I don't know how you are they loafers?
They're a Gucci loafer.
Goofy or Gucci?
Gucci, you don't wear socks with Gucci.
I've gone for the pump with no socks.
David always used to wear red socks, if I remember rightly.
Blue
I had
socks.
many colours.
Yes, you did.
If need be, red and green for Leicestershire, blue and yellow for Hampshire, blue and blue for England.
Oh, you had a collection of socks.
Oh, I had a mate with a warehouse full of them.
And what did the ECB think about your socks?
It was the era of Peter May as chairman and Mickey Stewart as manager. Peter May, coming out of lunch one day at Trent Bridge, I was coming up the stairs to the dressing room, the England dressing room, wearing my blue socks and no shoes. And the chairman very politely asked, excuse me, David, what colour are those socks? They're blue, chairman. And he went, oh, good. An hour later or whenever, Mickey Stewart said, can I have a word? And I said, yes, of course you can, Mick. He said, it's about your socks. I said, what? My socks, are these the key element to the fortunes of the England cricket team at this precise time? Are you worried about my form? Am I getting enough runs? Have I dropped a catch? Are we winning games? Are we losing games? No, it's about your socks. Any chance you could go back to the grey mile of 1963? Come on. They're very comfortable. I've got a nice pair of grey mile underneath the blue socks. They bring me luck. These are my lucky socks.
Dave, is that the problem with the England team in the minute? The socks. They've got the wrong socks on.
Very few people have hit upon this as the key element to success. We've talked about psychology, management, the whole thing.
Did that annoy you? Because you never seemed to be annoyed, did you? You just sort of cruised about, very phlegmatic.
It is weird because it was made to be. I just ignored it.
So you wore the blue socks?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah.
Look at these two gentlemen here. They would have had superstitions. You have favourite bats, you have favourite gloves. If it doesn't work, you change.
Yeah.
I had socks, which made me feel they were very comfortable. They were actually technically very efficient. They were ahead of their time. The socks were.
I get the feeling, Dave, that you're the kind of character. If someone tells you not to do something, you probably do it a little bit more.
I am a huge respecter of authority, but I don't like being told what to do.
But that's with the question your socks, we sort of got onto the sort of one of the key paradoxes of cricket, which is it's a team game, but you all got to be individuals. And does that, as a captain, when you have the captain, were you having to sort of corral a group of individuals and turn them into teams? How difficult is it to do that perform that paradoxical thing?
It's hugely difficult. There are some you obviously naturally get on with and understand, and you can talk to them very easily. Others who are on a different wavelength. And I know that when I was captain, I had sort of some good words for some people and good words for the team. Some of those up and atom speeches, where they were, world class. But they don't appeal to everyone. And and when you let someone, as it were, slip away quietly without realising what they're thinking or knowing, it's those are the failures.
So Ben Stokes has got the captaincy, and he'll be getting all sorts of advice. It seems to be the trend. Someone gets, have you spoken to X, Y, and Z? You mentioned two incredible captains in Ray Illingworth and Mike Brearley. What did they do to you that got the best out of you?
Well, there's one thing also, which is your first captains you respect automatically. At that stage, you're like a child. You are a child. You're learning by osmosis by the minute. I mean, Ray's mantra, he's said it many a time, I've repeated it many a time, was his job was to turn me from a gifted amateur to a gifted professional. Jury is still out. And you don't want to lose your flair, or you don't want to lose what makes you tick. But you have to learn, and a little bit like some of the people we're watching at the moment playing for England, you have to learn how to keep the enjoyment, keep the spirit, keep the flair, but make more runs. So Brearley took me aside after about 3 test matches and said, well, in fact, second test match, where I'd got 50 in a hurry at Lord's, first time at Lord's in a test match against Pakistan, played a horrible sweep shot that went wrong. So it was a quiet word. David, you do realise that test matches are 5 days. But I'm busy on Sunday. So there was that gentle but effective word which tells you need to start making hundreds, and then someone says you've got to make bigger hundreds.
I've never. I'll openly say you were one of my heroes. So one of the reasons I got into cricket, Phil,
Mike.
You were also, for many other reasons. The way that you played was just a way that I wanted to try and play. You try and take the opposition on. You made it look very, very easy. Have you ever been asked by the England setup to go in and try and talk about batting? Because I've never really heard you talk about your mindset, your game. When you were commentating, you'd almost like just brushed it aside that, it just happened. There must have been more to it than just arriving and just it happening.
There is, inevitably. There is that thing where, for instance, to use a Geoffrey Boycott, who has constructed his game like a Meccano set, so that if it goes wrong, he takes a bit out and puts another screw back in and puts it back together again. If you're more natural, it's not quite so easy to do that. And the one thing that's actually very hard to teach, as it were, is that mindset which takes you from one step to the next step to the next step, onwards and upwards. And in some ways that's pure luck, because the number of great players we've seen, or potentially great players we've seen, who haven't necessarily produced the 10,000 test runs that they might have done, there's only one thing missing, which is something somewhere up there. Hicks one of the great examples, I think, because Graham had a couple of great years in Test cricket, but over the period of 6-7 years that he played, wherever it was, everyone thought he should have had better figures. The mindset thing is impossible to coach. You can talk people through it as best you can, but then I think back, well, actually, how did I actually think, well, how did I go from A to B to C to D? I think the honest answer is I allowed it just to develop. Where you have to think about it is where it goes wrong. So I had a brilliant couple of years where things were going in the right direction. 78 against Pakistan, New Zealand, 79 against India. Suddenly a cycle, the West Indies pitched up, and I had a poor series, so you get left out. Then I went to the West Indies the following January, April, and got some runs. So, but every time, it's in a sense, it's quite a good thing to be dropped, because it makes you tougher. Makes you think. It makes you. You've got basically two options: either you give up and sell insurance, or you get better and come back again. So it's
that brings me on to a point. Practice. Did you ever?
You told me today that you used to throw him.
He used to be sitting there just like he is there
on a
in
bench.
The dressing room with his pads on, just knocking balls about the dressing room. Throwdowns. How many throwdowns have you had during your career?
I had a net against you, Cat.
One singular.
It is an interesting, because I hated nets, yes, because I never felt comfortable. And the golden rule about practice is you need to get something out of that makes you feel better. And if you have the strength of mind to play well on the back of very little, just a few throwdowns and a cup of coffee, fine. When I came back from Australia in '91.
Yes,
things
I was
that
there.
I think
Which tour was that, Phil? Were you naughty on that tour?
No, I think I was all right.
Were you?
Yes. I left all that Dave.
He was appalling. But when I came back from that, it was one of those times where the harder you try, the worse it gets. And I remember, trying to, long story with Tiger Moth and this, that, and the other, and then a drop of form. So 200s, then a complete drop of form.
Cost you £1,000 that, didn't it?
Minor.
Yeah. Worth it?
Yeah, I've got enough artwork on that to sell to make if need be, if times get hard.
Do you regret not throwing the water balloons?
No, that would have been silly.
Yes, yes.
How close were you? Were they all ready to go?
No, we didn't have any. I mean, there's no regret because we didn't have any. Anyway.
Oh, I thought you did.
It was a bit of a sort of rumour that floated.
Oh, right, okay.
It was enough. It was enough to have the flyby and the low level and the fun of that. And Tiger Moths are great, and old aircraft. There's something special about them. And to cock a snoot and all the rest of it. And it was harmless, but marginally expensive. So there we go.
I've just got to say something there. You put a lot of faith in my batting there, actually, because I was number 11, as I usually was. And as I walked off, having lasted for about 20 minutes, you and John
just landed.
They walked him round the back with the old panda on.
Can I say, the cat's memory is not what it was. It was two of England's finest, Lamb and Smith, born in Langermanvech and Durban respectively, who were batting through. By the time the fly pass was over Lamb and Smith, all right.
It was.
Yeah.
But then by the time you'd landed and they got back,
we were in the nick of time. No, that's by the time I've been back again. Anyway. But the corollary was the sad thing was that. But going back to start the English summer, where I had the worst start ever, and this is where actually practice you need. I physically had to go to say Mark Nicholas at Hampshire, and you have to literally go right. I don't want anyone bowling quick at me. I just want someone to bowl gentle medium pace. Mark, you'll do, and so I can see the ball again, and get the movements going again, and then start to get. So that's where really serious repair work had to be done.
The thing that's always said about you is that you're laid back. Do you get annoyed by that characterisation? Because you don't get to sort of, where are you, fourth in the England Test runs without having some inner steel.
No, I like laid back, but I always have to remind people that underneath that has to be a little bit of steel somewhere. I found it a useful tool, as it were. Are you liking that?
That's very nice, very approachable. That's very approachable.
It's a proper bottle.
That's a nice bottle, that. That's a nice one.
Proper bottle.
That was stolen from Lords today, but don't tell anyone.
The laid-back thing, if you can relax yourself, is one thing. If you can appear relaxed to the opposition, because obviously if you show fear, then you're in a bad place. The sledging goes up and... You can imagine Lily, Thompson, Pascoe, Hughes.
Sharp.
If you're quivering at the other end.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Fretting.
Did you?
If you're cat-like at the other end.
Because I remember, I think it was BBC back in the day, turning on, there you go, Dave. Then he gets to 20. Oh, come on, Dave. Then all of a sudden, that big drive. Oh, no, he's out. And then the smile as you walk off.
Yeah.
Does that smile carry on into the dressing room?
No, not necessarily.
What happens?
It depends entirely on whether I, in that 2 or 3 minutes walking off and sitting down, decide it was my fault or someone else's fault. If you've had a wild waft at something, which apparently it could happen.
Occasionally.
These things happen.
If you've done something which instantly was wrong, then you go back in and you quietly fume.
What kind of fume are we talking? Are we talking just the odd effing and blinding, or we're not launching the grey nickels across the dressing room?
Not a lot. Only once or twice in 20 or 18 years did I ever launch the grey nickels across the room, and was rebuked for it by senior professionals.
Where was that?
Cardiff.
Cardiff.
I remember going out to promoted to open the innings in a run chase against Glamorgan at Cardiff against Malcolm Nash, bowling slow left arm. But if he opened the bowling, he swung it. So I went out with this mission to 5 or 6 and over, had a slash, had a sort of big drive at it, nicked it, got caught. And I was just livid with my, this is where the laid-back thing fails.
Right.
So completely livid. Up the stairs, threw the bat in, bounced off the walls past Roger Tolchard, who said, you shouldn't be doing that. And you do get me, I was probably 21, I was a young lad, and was told in no uncertain terms, that's not how we do these things.
Phil, did you?
What's that?
Throw your bat?
No, I was delighted, usually.
You only had one. Didn't want to ruin it.
Didn't want to ruin the one.
I was going to say, if you only got one.
I used to
Look after it.
I used to take care of the teddy.
Teddy, go on, Teddy. Dave, what about so England's batting? What is your observation?
In certain places, we're lacking talent. In other places, we have talent which needs to be channeled. And in certain places we have world-class talents. So, Joe Root is as good as it gets.
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt. You know the third highest scorer for England over the last couple of years?
Extras, probably.
Correct.
Is that right?
It's extras. Sorry, Dave, carry on.
You've done some.
Sorry, I stole your punchline,
No,
Kat.
you bloody did.
You've actually done some research.
No, I haven't.
Someone told him, it's fine.
They did. We all found it out today.
He's a natural. He just absorbs these things. It's natural.
Extras. Sorry, mate.
But people like Joe, obviously world class. I'm a Bairstow fan. I think John has done some. He's battled his way up and down the order. He gets that 100 in Sydney was a very brave effort. The Crawley thing is what fascinates me, because I look at Zach thinking he's got oodles of talent. And there are little things you'd say. I saw something the other day. Thinking, actually, that would make a difference. The foot goes down the line of the stump, but not necessarily to where it should be for the drive. So if it comes to him, and that's what I think he's still trying to work out. If it comes to him, he can time it to death anywhere around the ground. If he's got to start looking for the ball, then he's got to get himself in just a slightly different position to get the foot to a ball and give himself, cut down the gap between foot and bat and ball. If you can just make that work more often, then you've got a man who can make good test match runs. The others who've opened the innings the last decade, really, since Alistair, well, it's not quite a decade, but since Alistair Cook and that very simple but effective method. And you look back over history, if you look back at some of the great players who've deliberately made the effort to cut down on the shots to make the productivity work, and Alistair was brilliant at that. And others who have the talent, but we still have that sort of will and wish to entertain and play the great shots, sometimes to our cost. Well, that's what you have to work out. And if you don't work it out, then I'm afraid you don't make 10,000 runs.
So as a left-hander, when you see someone like Alex Lees, and he bats a foot outside off stump facing Colin de Grand on bowling 70 miles an hour around the wicket, I never saw someone like you do that. Why is Alex Lees thinking by batting a yard outside off stump, he's giving himself a better chance?
All I would ever do to someone round the wicket or the left-armers was just shift the angle ever so slightly. So your alignment, right arm over, feet are where they should be. Someone goes round the wicket, you just push the front foot a couple of inches further towards the off stump, so your alignment is different. But you try and keep the picture in your mind the same.
I think these boys are actually thinking about it.
Do you think they're overthinking it though, Phil?
Well, yes, when you were purring, but you weren't thinking about what you don't think. Go on.
The entire art of getting this right is training your instinct so you don't have to think. And if you think about it, I know it's a bit late for you, Kat. Yes. I'm sorry about this, but if you've got that 0.4 of a second to make your mind up and do something, you can't think. You haven't got time to think. You just got to. It's all training the instinct. So your
can't
instinct
be happening in the conscious mind.
No, you can't. It's not a sort of tick box, is it? Is it short? Yes. Okay. Shall I? No. Shall I? Oh, it's too late. Shall I duck? Bit late now because it's just hit me on the head.
Boink.
Dave, do you think they get? So I look at them now, these players, and they get everything. So everything that they do is on a video.
In the old days, the only chance you could take to look at yourself bat and analyse yourself was on the highlights when you're having a steak and a bottle of red.
Is that how you used to look at yourself?
Oh, look at that. Lovely. That was lovely.
Oh, having another glass. Oh, that's a good shot.
Nutrition's moved on a bit as well.
Have to break off from the steak tips and Rioja, and so I've just got to go and watch the highlights. Good days or bad.
It's coming, that cover driver place. Honestly, it's coming soon.
Well, they cut it out. But the ability to see yourself is not a bad thing to have. But yes, overthinking, overdeveloping that is probably not my way of doing it.
Do you see Ollie Pope at England number 3?
Well, I feel for him. I was first put at 3 by Brealey against Australia, I think, in 81. And I didn't understand the role. And I said, yes, of course, Mike, I'll give it a go. It was the same sort of situation where someone has to go to 3. I probably got LBW Alderman for not very many. And
did a few, though.
That was kind of the end of that. And at that stage, I didn't feel it was the right place for me, but of course you have to do it. Probably 5 years later or whatever the maths is, it turned out to be my best place when I was ready for it, and I could actually make it work. So my best days came at 3 in the end, and it's a great place to bat once you understand it. And once you've got, Ollie was saying, well, I've been batting at 4 for Surrey, it's only one position difference, that'll be fine, which is it's kind of a good thing to say to yourself, to take the pressure off yourself. But at the same time, you have to somehow work out what it's like to go in when it's 1 for 1, or whether it's 110
so what's
for 1.
what's to understand? What is the difference between 3 and 4?
You become a better player. You become more equipped to deal with, because your first thing is you've got the openers who are specialists in looking at a brand new ball, which is going to fly through, swing, bounce, whatever it's going to do, and if it's holding Roberts, Garner Croft or Akram,
good luck,
Yunus, play well or good luck,
good luck.
If you're at 4, you in your mind you think, well, I might have a little bit of time before and the ball will be, you just feel a little bit more relaxed because you think someone else might soak up the difficult bits at the start and you can make hay. If you're at 3, you've got to be ready to do both, and the cat is poised.
I had a thought.
Don't tell me you think you could have batted 3.
No, I think openers and 3s play on line, and I think 4s and 5s play on length.
Can you explain that, Phil?
I don't know. I heard it this morning. But it sounded...
What do you mean? Can you explain that?
Well, no, because you go out there as a 4 and 5, you're looking to see the ball. You're playing on length. If it's a bit wide, you say, oh, up there, boom, through extra cover. Openers, you should know this, boys, and 3s start by playing on line. Is that right?
Well, you've got to survive. Yeah, you've got to survive on
absolutely.
line.
Yeah.
I think you might be right, Phil.
Oh, thanks,
Don't
Mike.
say that you heard that. You just take that. Own it.
Can you cut that out?
Yeah, we could. I'm sure we could do some sort of edit.
Hold on a minute. I've had a thought.
So we've all been around English cricket for a long time. I'm putting you in charge of English cricket, Dave. Lord Gower.
Can I say, Michael?
Yes.
That no one, up until this moment, has made that mistake.
I'm willing to make the mistake. So I've decided that you're in charge of English cricket. You've got a blank canvas. Are you going to change anything?
The one thing, because of who I am, what I like, I want red ball cricket to be given its proper chance, which means playing in the right time of year, not winter. And yes, you can talk about balls, you can talk about pitches, talk about divisions. I thought when we got to 2 divisions, that was a good step in the right direction. I don't like the idea of the amount of red ball cricket being reduced. You can argue that if it really counts every time, or counts more every time you walk out, maybe that, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I think we need to have enough of it to give people a chance to learn it, play it, and get into good habits. Having a blast and 100 is a problem. Having a 50 over, having just won the World Cup for the first time in 3,000 years of trying, the 50 over competition is now played by club players. I know it's a gross exaggeration, but it's suddenly been sidelined. I went to a game at Beckenham last year. I knew 2 of the people on the field. I knew the names of 2 people.
Were the umpires?
Yes. But it's an impossible thing in the sense that you've got so much to fit in, and so many different things to fit in nowadays that we just don't have the time. And I didn't like the fact that last year we played India. So you're playing one of the official top 2 sides in the world. 2 things went wrong. One is everyone's still talking about the Ashes that came. No, forget the Ashes. We've got to deal with India first. Secondly, there's a problem with the selection. Or if someone's out of form, let's have a look around who's in form. No one's played red ball cricket for a month or 2. Okay, it's an impossible balance, but we need to have, I'm sure, red ball cricket played by people who might be playing for England actually in summer, so you can back up a test team.
18 counters, is that going to carry on?
I still think, I think you can have 18 counties, but the divisional thing is important. And the point of 2 divisions was trying to make it competitive and get the better players into the top division. And I entirely sympathise with my first county, Leicestershire, who have no money. They have a part to play, because you can still become a professional cricketer for Leicestershire. You can still improve, and if you have to move to another club, as Stuart Broad did, and various, to get the better exposure, well, that is part of a system that at least progresses people up a tree. Whereas if you said okay to, I don't want to name counties, but you say to the bottom 6 counties, right, you're going to be minor counties or whatever they call them nowadays, because you can change the names, but it doesn't change the reality. Well, okay, but you still need a system that brings people out of schools to clubs, to leagues, to counties and upwards.
So do you think the game needs to get rid of a format?
Probably.
Which one?
Well, now, because the way things are committed, maybe the Blast, because the Blast, bless it, conforms to what the Western world is doing, which is 20 overs. The 100, I'm told, is available to private equity to come and finance the game for the next 100 years. I'm not aware of any private equity that's interested in the 100 at this particular stage in the early days, but if they're out there, please knock on the door of my new office at ECB Towers.
Will you want a bonus for that?
And well, no. Look, I'm here for the good of the game, Michael. I'm here for the good of the
Got
game.
a big throne in that office, big throne.
Yes,
and people wafting me with ostrich feathers.
I'd like Lord Gower in charge.
I would as well.
Yeah, well,
it would be a lot more fun.
well, it might be, but if the 100 has a commercial value that we haven't seen yet, but it does appear to involve that sort of thinking, money coming in that isn't predicated on TV. But if you look at the IPL, which is singularly the most successful, most lucrative tournament in the world which involves cricket, there's a lot of, call it private equity, call it investment, and it's still predicated on that same thing, which is a lot of television money. If you're watching IPL now, when the advert comes in on the 5th ball and finishes on the 3rd ball of the next over, you know damn well that there is a commercial reality behind that. It's brilliant. I mean, the IPL is extraordinary, and it's done great. It's brought through. I mean, what I love about IPL is the exposure of young players from India who are lapping it up. So it works for them, and that's if the 100 does that. I mean, the great thing actually about the first year of the 100, as an aside, was that because for various reasons, COVID and the rest of it, we couldn't get the overseas stars that were, going to come and play for 20 quid and make it special. We got people like, say, Will Smead coming through, getting a chance, making a name. Then he goes to PSL and makes hundreds in the PSL. And it's brilliant for bringing through and showcasing young talent. So, I mean, those are the things I love about it. But yes, you've still got to fit it in. And if it's in the prime time of summer and we're still trying to, win test matches at the same time, it's
something's got to give.
It's busy.
It's
busy.
It is busy. Yeah.
Something has to give.
Again, the cat. That perceptive mind is
I'm on
overtime tonight.
Dave, you'll notice that the cat has a book.
Listen,
on our podcast, the cat every week he does an either or with our guest, and this is his moment.
Leicestershire or Hampshire?
Hampshire.
Oh, okay. Number 2, Grey Nichols or Open Championship?
Grey Nichols.
Oh, I like the Open Championship.
I like the Open Championship, but the Open Championship.
Power Spot was all right, but the Open
Spot.
No, but Greys, I love Greys because I love the sort of family firm.
Yes.
John Gray, the patriarch, Nick, and Jot Livingston when I first started. You
Lovely.
can have 2 for the price of 1. Going down to the cottage industry, watching these artisans making these beautiful things. I loved all that.
Oh, here we go. Number 3, boycott or gooch?
I'm going to say gooch. Jeffrey, Jeffrey has a great expression. If we had your ability and my brains, we would be one hell of a player.
Here we go. I think I know the answer to this one. Okay. Tiger Moth or Spitfire?
Spitfire.
Oh, lovely.
Spitfire. No, that's one of my ambitions, to get one of those flights from Goodwood or wherever in the 2-seater Spitfire. Yeah. That would be brilliant. I'd rather fly in a Spitfire over Goodwood than sort out the ECB, to be honest.
Last one. Cat or dog?
I'm a cat man, actually. I like the big cats.
I see. Yes, the big. Yes,
the leopards, the snow leopards, the lions, the tigers.
Yes.
But I wouldn't keep one in the house, to be honest.
No, very
Phil, that was
claw.
very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Excellent.
Very
Excellent
good.
questions.
It's improving. You're getting better at that.
Very
Thanks,
perceptive.
You're only the second time. I gave Dave some homework.
Oh, you did?
Lord Gower.
Oh, really?
He's going to tell us his greatest ever team.
Oh, lovely.
So I came up with 2 teams.
Right.
Oh.
Because 2 teams.
They can play each other.
The first one starts with Alexander the Great,
Oh,
Attila the Hun, which is a very powerful opening partner.
Yeah.
yes. Don't mess with that, Stu.
Yeah.
General Montgomery,
Right.
Monty.
Richard the Lionheart,
Lovely.
the Duke of Wellington, Napoleon, because you've got to have balance.
Yes,
At
yes.
his moments,
This is a good team.
Yeah, low centre of gravity.
Admiral Nelson, I think slow left arm.
Was it left or right arm?
That's what I wasn't quite sure about. I think it was the right arm that went, so we're down to slow left arm. Thor, because of course, he's always
He'd be able to hit it hard.
Several characters from Game of Thrones, and that was it.
Lovely.
But anyway, right, my other team.
Yes.
Okay, so not of all time, but of people that I've seen play.
Yep.
Okay.
Marvellous. This is good.
This is it.
Gordon Greenwich.
Oh,
Very good.
There's so much competition for the next five. Tendulkar comes in maybe a little higher than normal.
Oh, he's going open.
You're going to open.
But I'll tell you why in a moment, okay?
Okay.
Because
Right.
at 3 is the great Graham Pollock. Graham Pollock is in there, as is IVA Richards, who can play.
Yeah.
So Vivi, you can tell how these things went when we played against the Caribbean. Played against the West Indies. Vivi is Servid Richards. I'm here.
OBE.
Well, there is that as well.
Yeah, OBE. Yeah, if you got anything.
But I had to
Phil?
get Lara. I
BC.
wanted to get Lara in.
Oof.
Left-hander. So you've got quite a strong middle order here.
Yeah.
That's quite
So
a good top
Sachin,
5.
I'd have word with Sachin and say, look, do you mind opening? There's a lot of all-rounders in this team, because partly for fun, because Sobers, who I watched, I used to watch Gary at Trent Bridge when I was growing up as well, and just awesome. And the great thing about Gary, he can bat, yep, he can catch, he can bowl, swinging 80 mile an hour. He can bowl your twiddlies, he can bowl your orthodox left arm, so Gary's in there, has to be in there. Then I had a bit of fun, because Imran and Botham.
Oh, hello.
Oh,
Okay.
you're having them both.
I'll tell you why I'm having them both.
Oh, we having them
Oh,
both?
whoa.
No, I'll tell you why I'm
What a
having them
team
both.
this is.
No, because I'm just imagining this dressing room, where they're going to change,
Yeah. Who gets to choose where they sit?
if they're ever going to speak to you. Because you know what beef is like. He can hold a grudge for a while, and
No, it's not beef.
come on,
Sir Beef, Lord
If you
Beef.
talk about captaincy earlier, bringing people together.
Who's batting 7?
So that's 7 or 8. Yeah, who's
Yeah, who-
7? I'm
who
going
you
in.
gonna say,
Oh, yeah, go on. No, come on.
this is
Who's
a
7
tough
and who's
decision.
8? Who are you going to say?
I've got Imran at 7.
Both of them down at 8.
You pissed him off already.
Yeah, well, I suddenly remember we needed a keeper.
Oh, yes. I forgot about
I'd
that.
forgotten about that. And I loved Notty. I thought Notty was just with the gloves.
Notty, hands like mink.
Indeed. Indeed. Have you felt much mink?
Yes, I have in my
That's what I've
time.
done.
10 and 11. Got to be some paces
Well,
here.
we've already got a bit of. We got some.
might
so
need
got
a-
him,
you
got him.
you might need a spinner.
Oh,
I've got
forgot
one.
about us. Oh, you
Go
got
on.
one.
I've got one.
forgot about
Okay.
us.
Pete Tufnell?
Would you be mortified if I put Warren ahead of you?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, in that case, as it's been,
Tell you what, Imran, Beefy,
Warren over Murray.
Vaughany, Lara.
and the final pace link is.
Oh.
Do you want to guess?
I reckon Malcolm Marshall.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Hampshire.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Who's the skipper?
Oh, go on.
I almost said Warren.
Oh,
Because
go on.
tell you why,
Oh.
because they'd have had a lot of fun with that. No team meetings. The morning meeting would have been very entertaining, and no cricket involved.
Also, Mike,
What?
top night out.
Oh.
Yes.
Good tour. Good tourist.
Yeah, I think
There's
that's...
a couple of belters in there.
And I think they're winning a few games, so I think they're celebrating a few nights as well. Yeah, that's a pretty good team, Lord.
Well, as you say, there are many more who will just failed to make the cut, but that's life.
Including you. You didn't select yourself.
A bit tired, actually.
It's been a long day.
I was a bit tired thinking about the selection thing.
Fair enough. You can just sit in the stands and watch.
Well, a bit of management. Yeah.
Be fun to
Dave,
watch.
thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you
amazing.
for joining the Vaughany and Tuffers Cricket Club.
Well, wasn't it great to meet David? What a gent. And some great teams there.
Well, let me say, and I kind of alluded to it at the start, but he was my hero. You give me David Gower, Alan Lamb, Robin Smith, Beefy, those kind of characters that always seem to play the game as if it was just another day out at the cricket. looking back now, I could always tell that they'd had a few the night before.
That was my side, Mike, and I could see that in your face, Mike. He was your hero. You were sitting there like sort of longingly looking at him, weren't you? I could see it in you. I haven't seen you do that many times.
No, you were too busy on the red wine, so I had to kind of look like I was kind of taking him seriously.
Well, I played with your heroes there, Mike, and you're right. Most of them, including me, when we came out, had
Come on, give me an insight. I mean, I've just sat next to Dave, and I love him to bits. But what was it like playing with him?
He was a very sort of calm, level-headed kind of guy, but he could blow, as he mentioned there. There were a few occasions when he'd just go, you know what I mean? But I can remember playing in a game. I think it was Sydney, and he just went out there, and he's. I tell you what, he scored 100 like Joe did at Lord's. It just sort of like washed over you. You know what I mean? You can't particularly remember any sort of glorious big shot or anything like that. It was just silky smooth, Mike, silky smooth. Wonderful bloke to play with, and always, as you said, would look after you and try to, he'd invite you to dinner and take you out for a nice bit of seafood and a glass of white wine or something.
I can imagine out with Lord Gower, you're talking lobster, aren't you, and fine wines. Yeah, are you having a starter? Are you having a bit of caviar?
Well, yes, might go for a little bit of that. Why not? Langoustines or something.
Yeah, would you have dessert with Dave? Would he?
I might go straight onto the sort of port.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, maybe a brandy to finish the night with him.
No, he was. I said I only went on the one tour with David, but a wonderful player, and the player that you just wanted to watch. You know what I mean? When he went out the bat, everyone, I was usually having a snooze on the physio's bed, but even I used to get up and sort of go and find myself a little chair on the balcony and just see what was going on.
Were you ever at the other end? Did you ever have a partnership with him?
Well, not a partnership. Yes, I think, if my memory serves me right, I think it was at Perth, and this was one of the tight, really fast, bouncy track. And I walked out there, and Dave sort of come. It was, I think we needed 400 or something. I was with the last wicket, and I can't remember. It might have been Merv Hughes coming steaming in or something. I can't remember, but even David was bobbing and weaving, and I was at the other end, and I thought to myself, well, if Lord Gower's bobbing and weaving, I am in big trouble.
Did he have any calming words for you?
Well, he did. He went, hello, Tuffers, old boy, not to worry, I'll try and farm the strike and try and sort of like knock these 400 off and you just stay with me.
Did you?
No, I was out next ball.
Right, chaps, obviously the Test match has been the big thing going on this week, but one other story that caught our eye was about Ricky Clarke, the Surrey all-rounder, former Surrey all-rounder. Played a couple of tests, I think, and a few one-day matches for England in the noughties. But last week he was playing for Shrewsbury in Division 2 of the Hampshire League, where he put South Wilt's third 11 to the sword. Scored 229 off 109 balls, including 22 sixes, and helped the team reach 385 for 7 off just 45 overs.
He's only gone and got a daddy 100 in the dog and duck 11.
Thirds. In the thirds. Oh.
Yeah, well, I think he was playing for his first, but he was up against South Wilt's.
That's a bit unkind.
And he posted a video of this, and he's sort of inundated with social media vitriol with people suggesting that maybe, given that he only retired from professional cricket last year.
Ben, as a batter, you are taught if you get in, make it a big one.
Yeah.
You've got to make it count, Phil, haven't you?
Yeah. But Mike, you've been in touch with him. Has he been able to defend himself?
I love the fact he's still playing cricket, and I think that's what we should be celebrating. All right, should he have chipped one in the air once he got to 100? Maybe. Getting a double might be a bit over the top, but let's just put a bit of context into what he's doing at the club. So he did send me a message. He said, we found the club as a family for my little lad to start All Stars, the ECB programme, and it was Shrewsbury, which was the closest. We've been part of the club as a family for the last 3 to 4 years now. I've been playing in many leagues below my standard, But even if I played Premier League, it would be obviously below his standard, no doubt as well, because he's an ex-pro. I don't get paid a single penny. It helped out jet washing the decking. He's helped paint the pavilion. He took a whole weekend off to do that. He did a free masterclass taster session to boost the junior participants at the club. He even scored for a seconds game one weekend that he wasn't playing. This is a guy that's also in the same team, has scored 14, 14 and 41. So he has got out 3 times for relatively low scores. I think we should be celebrating the fact that we've got an ex-England player who's willing to put he's had the paintbrush out at the club. He scored.
So he's not just a ringer who's turned up and smashed the ball all over the place and then got back in his fancy car and driven off.
I'm also saying here, Ben, that, I'm hearing it across the kind of teams where I play as well, not play, where I kind of watch a bit of cricket, my lad plays. They're finding it hard to get teams out, with COVID still causing an issue. I think participation numbers across grassroots league cricket are getting harder. Saturday afternoon cricket for the seconds and the thirds are getting harder to fill. So I think we should be celebrating the fact that Ricky Clarke's back out there, he's playing. And I'll be honest with you, I think I painted one cricket pavilion for the NatWest Cricket Force many, many years ago. And to think he's doing it off his own back, giving up his time, giving masterclasses. As I said, maybe 229. It might be a few too many, but we should be praising him for what he's doing and giving a bit back.
Yeah, praise him, but also thoughts and prayers for all the bowlers in Division 2 of the Hampshire League.
And I'll tell you something, if he's any good with a jet wash, he can come round and do my deck in any day of the week.
Well, it sounds like he's busy. I don't think that's So we got that text, but we've also been inundated with emails, texts and tweets from listeners from last week. We asked people to get in touch via Twitter, but also via our email, which is cricketclub@telegraph.co.uk. And the first email that jumps out to me is one showing an ex-professional player doing it the right way and getting bowled for 11 in a village game at Newark in 2019. It's a certain MP Vaughan.
Oh, right. So someone's emailed in, haven't they?
Yeah. It's a chap called Scott. He was the bowler, and he's got a video.
Oh, right. So someone's filmed it.
Someone's filmed it. Yeah.
Scott Warren in bowls.
Oh, that's about right, isn't it? Yeah. So Ricky Clarke, I've just praised him for getting, 229, and you're just dragging up that I've got bowled out.
Well, the shot you're out to is pretty horrid looking, I've got to admit.
No, but that's what I was giving back. I was being kind. I could easily have got 229.
So apparently, in the email, you apparently said that the ball was a Jaffa.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
But I've seen it, and I think you just got caught in no man's land. You've gone back to a ball that you should have gone forward, and you seem to have played around a straight one.
I've been hammering Johnny Bairstow for playing the big drive all week through the gate. Have I done the same?
You then walk off.
Right.
You have a bit of a bounce in your step, but then you have to turn back and swap bats with the non-striking batsman. I don't know whose bat you had.
Yeah, that's proper.
That's proper.
Yeah. I have got a century at Newark. I have.
Unfortunately, we don't have a video of that.
No, but I will make sure that by next week, I'll get you the scorecard of that.
There was actually, in fairness, there was quite a sizable crowd there. I was kind of sort of surprised to see for a village.
Phil, what are you laughing at?
No, Mike, I was just going to say, I thought that you got out for 11 because what you really wanted to do was go and paint the pavilion. You spent all afternoon painting the pavilion.
Come on, let's offer. Me and you, Phil and Ben, let's offer to go to a cricket club at the end of the season. What we should do in this podcast, we should run a competition.
Steady.
Okay. Right, let's run a comp. And what we'll do is at the end of the season, say October time, we will go and record a live podcast at a cricket club of choice. Look, we'll come and paint, jet wash, whatever it may be. It might be Shruton that would it. It might be Ricky Clarke's team. Well, maybe not. What about the team that he whacked for 229? See, they've got to be a candidate potentially to having the live pod at their club. And we'll do a night and we'll come with a paintbrush and we'll do 10 minutes with a brush and then record a podcast.
I think that's a great idea. People should write in, tell us why their club deserves us to come and visit them.
Tufnell and myself and Ben will come and serve behind the bar for the first half an hour, then record the podcast. Forget the paint. We're not doing that. That's garbage.
So we got lots of other emails. There was one here which I thought was very interesting, which was about the Duke's ball. Because we've seen that the Duke's ball's gone quite soft at the beginning of this season. That's allowed the batsmen to score some runs. Someone's written in and suggested maybe that English cricket should adopt the Kookaburra ball.
I've always been a fan of the Duke ball, to be fair, but there is this chat going about that there's a bit of a batch that goes soft, but I mean it's a lovely cricket ball. But I know what you mean, just to make it sort of like the global game a little bit more sort of regulated for sure. And it was a marked difference, wasn't it? New Zealand kept trying to change the ball. I think they had thrown 3 or 4 goes of trying to get it through the old rings that the umpires take with them, but it was gun barrel straight that morning. It was overcast and it appeared to have gone flat, just like when Mitchell and Blundell got their partnership going. It had obviously lost its oomph.
The county game this year, there's been complaints because the ball hasn't done enough, but I think that's absolutely what the county game needs. We don't need 75 mile an hour seam bowlers getting 50, 60 wickets. For me, we've got to try and nullify that kind of pace. I don't think that kind of pace should be having too much success, and it's only down to the old Duke ball that does too much. So this year they've gone and produced a ball that's not doing quite as much. Ironically, the test team went back to the bats that did a bit more because they wanted movement. For England to be the best team in the world, I think we have to get used to playing on pitches and using a ball. And it's possibly Dukes can make a ball that doesn't do quite as much. But for England to become the best team in the world, it'll need pace, it'll need real quality spin. And those 75 miles an hour seam overs should be bowled, in my opinion, by spinners. And doing that will create bowlers that bowl quicker because you'll have to, and hopefully will create more of a batch of spin bowlers because they'll bowl a lot more overs. So I do think the ball is going to be crucial in England's development going forward.
And talking of England's development, we had a lot of people write in following Rob Key's interview last week, managing director of England Cricket. We had him on, and one of the things he was saying was that it still seemed to intimate that to develop red ball cricket in this country, we should play a little less red ball cricket, and a lot of people have picked up on that paradox.
I would make this change in the game in the UK. I think we should start our season in March, at the start of March, and the start of the season starts overseas. So there are a few less teams.
What? Where are we going, Mike? What? Overseas?
Well, you can go wherever you wish. The UAE, you can go to Barbados, Antigua, Sri Lanka, India, whatever it is. Just create 4 rounds of 4-day, 5-day cricket, whatever they decide to go for, and play them overseas. And by that, you just spread the season out. So at the minute, it starts April the 6th or 7th, and it's pretty much a conveyor belt till September of non-stop cricket. If you start it earlier, overseas, and you get 4 rounds done early, you can just stretch it out a bit more, and you can get a few more days off for preparation, rehab, all that kind of stuff. It might give you a chance to rest up your bowlers, so the pacey bowlers get a little bit more time to have a breather. So that'd be the change I would go for.
What about the spectators, Mike?
Ultimately, if you don't change something, so the one element of English cricket that we've struggled with over many, many years is playing overseas. And the only people that get to play overseas are England players. So if you take all the teams overseas to play 4 rounds of matches, you just never know what you're going to find in terms of giving opportunities to all those. But they all go on pre-season tours anyway. Generally, they all go overseas anyway in March time. So I would spread the season out, take it overseas for the first month or so, and then bring it back from April onwards and spread the kind of load of all the games and all the different formats around.
And plus, you'd come back with a fabulous tan for the start of the summer.
Lovely.
Right, guys, I think that's probably about all we've got time for this week. So a big thank you to David Gower for taking the time to chat with us, and thank you also to everyone who wrote in. We loved getting your emails and tweets this week. Please keep sending them in. Especially if you've got any videos of Mike getting castled.
Can I give an early little bit of a promo for next week? We've got something very special. It doesn't get much bigger than Rob Key, David Gower, but in terms of a character, we've got the legendary David Bumble Lloyd, who's going to come on our podcast and he's going to pick his character 11. And his character 11 is not runs scored, wickets taken, catches caught. It is just purely 1 to 11 characters. Get ready.
I might get in that one.
Well, I think Phil might be in with a chance.
Well, if you've got any suggestions for who might make a character 11, please send them in. A reminder, you can find us on Twitter. Mike's handle is Michael Vaughan, @Michael Vaughan. Phil's is @Phil Tufnell, 1 F, 2 L's. I've got a common name, so mine's a bit more convoluted. It's @_Ben Wright_. And you can also send an email to cricketclub@telegraph.co.uk. So until next time, thank you guys, and bye.
Cheers, boys.
Ta-ra.